What is to be expected, as it is clear from the above? In one or the most advanced countries of the world, where in the last 20 years, $35 billion have been spent for treating cancer patients every year and $24 billion have been spent for research. Despite all efforts, cancer death rates went up by 7%, taking into consideration the fact that in the years to come the number of risk factors is expected to grow. No special clairvoyance is needed to predict that the frequency of tumorous diseases will increase. What lies behind this? One of the causes is that the man of today has missed his goal. He has forgotten that human society and technological civilization can exist only because nature has, for several 100 million years, created and sustained the system which provided us with air, clean water, fertile soil, precipitation, filtered sunlight, etc. While economic laws urge participants to further expand production, increase GDP and the amount of crop per hectare, we are only now beginning to recognize that all of these go hand in hand with the destruction of nature which ensures our conditions for life. Decades ago, responsibly thinking scientists cautioned us, but the system, by inertia, keeps going on without any change of direction. Harmful components of human activity have, during the last decades, surpassed the level which can be tolerated by nature without causing permanent damage. Our air and water are polluted to an extent never experienced before. The size of the ozone hole is constantly growing. The ozone layer is getting thinner, enabling the greater intensity of harmful UV radiation. The temperature of the seas has increased. Ice cover is melting. The bulk of the population on Earth live in metropolis of several million inhabitants where huge floods of cars emit harmful gases. Converting these global processes to the level of cells and tumorous diseases, we see that, unfortunately, there is an ever-growing threat that defects in cells will increase while replicating genetic programs, raising the probability of the appearance of tumor cells. This will result in an increase in the number of cancer patients worldwide. According to prognoses, 20 million new cancer patients are expected to be diagnosed by 2020. What can you do to decrease the risk of cancer? Looking at the incidence of cancer in various states of the United States of America, we find an intriguing correction. Figure is nearly the same in all states, but one where it is strikingly low, a mere 50% of that in other states. This state is Utah, where, due to the severe restrictions of the Mormon religion, the number of smokers and/or people consuming alcohol and coffee is low. From this very simple statistical fact, the most important thing to do becomes obvious. Specialists agree that in a single step, without the use of drugs or medicinal products, cancer mortality could be reduced by 50%. All we have to do is stop consuming obviously carcinogenic stimulants, change our outdated nutrition habits, and, in general, care for our health more. Unfortunately, it seems as if the move in this direction, for whatever reason, is very difficult. What prevents us from accepting and applying these very simple-to-follow principles? We are capable of rational thinking and action. Why do 50 to 60% of adults consequently and consistently destroy their health while all of us care for and cherish our material goods and objects of value? We get so when somebody scratches our car, but we do not even notice our children, sitting in the back seat, inhale the smoke of our cigarettes. There are several answers to why we behave so irrationally. We do not know that what we are doing is harmful. We do not believe that rules refer to us too. We are aware but take the risk, rather, in exchange for enjoyment. We cannot imagine that there is all other way of life. We think that if there is some trouble, doctors will fix us just like mechanics fix our car. We have no strength to change. We do not believe in the correlation between, for example, smoking and the higher incidence of cancer, etc. Numerous arguments could be found for why we do not behave rationally, but we do not intend to moralize. In fact, we would like to call attention to the fact that the appearance of a tumor has simple and rational causes, just as our car will be scratched if we wash it with a wire brush. The only significant difference lies in the dimension of time. While in the example referring to our rational thinking, an erroneous decision is followed by an immediate and obvious consequence. Years may elapse from the appearance of a tumor and the causes leading to it. This misleads people because the connection does not seem so obvious. The first signpost on the road to change calls us to accept the observations of scientists, doctors, and epidemiologists, and at least try not to increase our own chances of tumor appearing. Of course, it is not only the individual that has to change, but also the views of society, politics, and economic policy, as these can only change together. It is futile for the individual to try to lead a healthier life if the air he inhales is strongly polluted, if the water he drinks is of poor quality, if his food is full of pesticides, stabilizers, preservatives, color agents, and other artificial supplements. We should strive for rationality at a social level too. A contradiction to this could be the topic of another book, namely that it is the interest of the individual, of economic units, and of the country to produce, sell, and consume, as this ensures our daily livelihood. In actual fact, all these activities continuously diminish our living space and also our chances of survival, narrowing the circle of problems to the issue of cancer. Prognoses claim that more and more people will get the disease at an ever younger age if we cannot take effective measures to alter the current situation. It would, of course, be good if through individual and social decisions the consumption of harmful stimulants, and through this, the number of cancer incidents were to decrease. But what is needed most is to rethink how we can use the achievements of technological and scientific development to create systems and human communities where the chances of survival are able to grow and the feared diseases of our age, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, or AIDS, are reduced. Innumerable factors determine whether we live our lives with or without a tumorous disease. Is like the correlation between a car and the style of the driver. To have a good car, a strong and healthy organism gives us an opportunity to drive at great speed on the highways of life. But it depends how we drive the car. If we do it cautiously, following the rules, we can go far, but if we do not pay attention to the traffic signs, we can easily get wrecked. With appropriate circumspection, you can also go far even if you have a medium or weaker car. But just like a cautious driver can have a car accident, you get cancer even if you lead the healthiest way of life. There is unfortunately no guarantee against cancer, but it is possible to reduce the risk of getting it. Why is it necessary to change? The most important argument, naturally, is to avoid a premature death. This argument should in itself be sufficient to suppress all the others. Is there anything more important than being able to bring up our children, to help them start their lives? Is there a greater joy than to watch, as grandparents, how our grandchildren grow up while living our own lives in good health? According to British statistical data, half of today's 20-year-old smokers will die as a consequence of smoking, and every second of them in their prime years. They will not live to see their children grow up. And these data are valid for every country in the world. One should not neglect the economic consequences of being ill either. Everybody should know that a disease is an expensive thing for both patient and society. It is not true that smokers, through high taxes, contribute to the budget of a country, because 5 times the sum of taxes is spent on treating disease is connected directly or indirectly to smoking. Who would want to make a business of getting $1,000 for paying $5,000 in exchange? And this is exactly what is happening now. only not with thousands but with hundreds of billions. We can get richer not only by saving more money but also by trying to avoid certain expenditures with foresight and attention. The appearance of neurocytostatic drugs used in cancer therapy at the same time also entails a rise in prices. The development of these drugs consumes vast sums USD 300 to 500 million which, in turn, are passed on to the consumer. A 6-month supply of an anti-cancer drug can cost up to USD 610,000. It is easy to see that the treatment of 1,000 patients means an expenditure of USD 610,000 million. But it is on merely 1,000 patients that have to be treated in Hungary. 50,000 new patients are diagnosed each year with cancer, and the total number of tumorous patients is somewhere between 150 and 200,000. Even for developed countries, high-level patient care means heavier burdens. It is in the interest of all countries to minimize the rate of cancer incidence and to find and apply the cheapest and most effective treatment procedures. Otherwise, it might easily happen that the country's inhabitants fall into two groups: the sick and those healthy who work to subsidize treating the sick. As a matter of fact, in a way, this is what is happening today. The safest way to decrease these expenses would be to be able to cure more cheaply and to minimize the cancer rate. The application of the procedure based on deuterium depletion in cancer therapy and prevention may contribute to the achievement of the above goals. The essence of deuterium depletion procedure